טוב, אנחנו לומדים הערב את English. Oh, sorry. We're learning this evening. Yeah. I get all my languages mixed up. We're learning the Sikha of the Rebbe, Parshas Eykev, Toshin Nun Aleph. And the learning is taking place in the Beis Knesset of Tzedek. I should be here. Kodesh will be here Atika. Should be here Chabad Tsfat. And this evening is Eykev Beis Menachem Or Toshin Eykev Thursday night. And we welcome everybody to the Shir, and we wish ourselves Chsiva Nachsima Teva, Be'ez Hashem, Lashon Teva Masucha,
Amen.
Shnasa Geula, Parshas, Kol Yisrael.
Amen.
Yedua begins the Rebbe, Shechodesh Elul hu hachodesh hamatim b'yesa l'aroi b'y cheshbon hanefesh. It's well known that Chodesh Elul is the most appropriate and most fitting time for a person to make and to shape within himself Cheshbon HaNefesh. What Cheshbon HaNefesh means a deep self-assessment and examination as to where is he holding in these Avodas Hashem.
A cup of coffee? You want coffee?
That would be very nice if it could be arranged. I don't want to put you in trouble. Which is the... Some water more. I'll manage with the water. To go into making this self-assessment. Now, the truth of the matter is that it's put down in the great Sfarim, and the Torah mentions that, and brings it down, what he was the great predecessor to the Beis Yosef, who was the author of the Shulchan Aruch. And it was wrote here in Tzfat, by the way, that everybody knows. The Torah brings down about the fact that since Chodesh Elul is the final month of the year, it is the the Chodesh Hashem, and then immediately Rosh Hashanah begins a new year. That is the fitting time to make a self-assessment, because you're already coming to the end of your Veda of the whole year which has gone through, and you're facing the coming year. So that means that the Cheshbon has in itself two aspects. On the one hand, it's a deep examination of what have I done during the year and what can be improved and all that is involved about the idea of self-criticism. However, in addition to that, I've got to prepare myself on the basis of new hachlotas based on that self-examination for the coming year. And therefore, it's a Chodesh HaCheshbon, which is like centralized at the end of the present year and leading into the coming year. L'sakein eshkol ha'toyos shenasu b'mahalach hashana cholefes. First of all, to attempt to overcome all the errors or mistakes or lack of proper judgment that you had during the whole year. And at the same time, lishkoinu v'chak, and through that, and together with that, lishkoinu Eykev likas hashana hachadosha, to prepare yourself very capably and very well. The Gabi de Shonaha, Aboalena Latera. So Shaila he says the question that occurs to the so-called intelligent reader is that Keitad Ubeiza Tsura Alenu Lasis is a Chesben Nefesh. In what way and in what sort of general framework or shape should we make this whole Chesben Nefesh? Yeah, Maze Omor Liyesh Beklal. What is it said to be in general? In other words, it's very simple. For a person to mean well, he can be making a chesban nefesh, but it's possible to be mistaken in that itself. As the great Mashpim used to tell us, that sometimes you have to make a chesban on the chesban. That's to say, not just make a chesban, but make a chesban how you make the chesban. In other words, how are you doing it? And that's what the Rebbe means here, Be'ezehu Keitad, or Be'ezehu Derech. Well, this is more he's coming in a minute. You don't mind. Shalom As a matter, we have to work out what is the right way to make the chesban. Because I can be well-meaning and I can have a good, but it could be that I'm not on the right line. And therefore, I've got to know exactly how to make a chesban. Mekila and Shekol Dover, Uprat Ba'ilom, Ubashgaha Prati Meis Hashem. If everything in this world, according to the Baal Shem Tov, as we know, that everything in this world, every detail is Bahashgaha Prati from the Eivashtar, Aleinu Lasim Leiv Gam Le'uvda, and the Rebbe says how much more so when it comes to Inyonim of Torah and all the things that are connected with the Seder of the year, Benegir to Torah, then for sure, if a bletterly moves from one side of the road to the other, that's Hashgacha Pratiyah, how much more so things of a more significant role in the life of how Torah governs our whole existence, that must be for sure by Hashgacha Pratiyah. And therefore, we have to pay attention to the fact that Rosh Chodesh Elul, what Rosh Chodesh Elul, as the Alter Rebbe tells us in the Likutei Torah, is the Rosh of Kol Yemei HaChodesh. Just like we said that Rosh Hashanah is the head of the whole year, so in a slightly minor way, but nonetheless benegir to those 30 days of the month, the Rosh Chodesh is a general day and a governing day in reference to all the days of the month. And therefore, since Rosh Chodesh Elul is the Rosh of the whole month of Elul, then it's very important for us to see what we can deduce in reference to Rosh Chodesh Elul. Thanks, Mordechai. What can we deduce in reference to Rosh Chodesh Elul, since that's the governing day of the whole month? And this year, it was exactly the same kriyas then by the Rebbe as we have now. And he said, the Rosh Chodesh comes out, beyond Shabbos Kodesh, v'gam lemocharas b'yem ha'arishon. That's Shabbos and also Sunday. And just by the way, it's important to notice that, and it's brought down, the Rebbe mentions that the Sikha, that the meaning in Chabad is that when Rosh Chodesh is 2 days, and you're benching the Rosh Chodesh, you're making, if you don't mind, not cheering this evening. If you don't mind, not cheering. I realize that's sort of enthusiastic anticipation. But, everything has to be what I say there. So the Rebbe says we have Shabbos. So the minig in Chabad is that when we bench Rosh Chodesh, we say the Rosh Chodesh Elul B'yom HaShabbos Kodesh, and then we say Ula Macharosei B'yom Harishon. Now let's say it occurred on Wednesday and Thursday, then we say B'yom Revi'i, yeah, Ula Macharosei B'yom HaChamishi Havor Leinu. That was the nusach that they used in Chabad. We mentioned the day, and then we say that the next day is the immediate mocha of that day that we mentioned. Otherwise, it could be that somebody would have a mistake who didn't know what's going on, and he might think that one day of the Rosh Chodesh is let's say Shabbos, and the next one is the Sunday after or something. He's not necessarily informed. And therefore, we have to always say that it's, but there are 2 days, that the second day is the Macharas of the first day. The Iru Shabbos Zu, HaMevorechas is HaChodesh, he Shabbos Parsha Eykev, which must also, being as it is Bashgacha Pratius, but the Seder of the whole Union, that must have also something to teach us. Yeah, he said, Gam mi protim eilu nuchol lahavin me'at. We'll be able to understand at least a little. Yeah, mahu be'etzem ha'cheshbon ha'nefesh shel chodesh. If we put all these factors together and we learn from them what they can teach us, then we will appreciate what it means, the whole idea of making a cheshbon and how you have to make the cheshbon and in reference to what, etc., etc. So the Rebbe said, Chodesh Shelo, Mahave, Chodesh Shelo is in effect in itself. So I told him he's not allowed to drink anything, and I drink myself. But this is not whiskey in a sense. Anyway, so he says that Chodesh Shelo tells us the Rebbe Mahave be'etzem Sikum Klali Shel Kol Hashana. When you begin thinking about Chodesh Shelo, what are you doing with your cheshbon and nefesh? The first thing is you have to make a general summing up of all that's been in your life, all of the year. B'kol hashana hatafkid shel Yehudi, or tafkid ha'yechidi shel Yehudi, the one and only basic task of every yid, hu l'shamesh or l'shordes es poirei. The whole reason why you're here in the world is only to serve and give service to your Creator. As is brought down in the Mishnah at the end of Masechta Kedushin, and also mentioned in detail in Abraisa, and also the Gemara refers to it in some detail in over there in the Sugya, that Ani lo nivreisi ela l'shameshes koini. I meant just to say to himself the whole time that the whole reason I was created was only to serve the Eibishter. So Kunta that the whole reason you are here in the world is only to offer up service to Hashem. If that's the case, then the Sikum Kloli of the whole year is what have I been doing in my service to Hashem? Because that's what I'm here for. That's the whole reason that I came into the world. The Shaman says, Ulamale is Ratzon Hashem. Not just to serve him, but to carry out what he really wants of humanity. What does he want? And since I'm a detail in humanity, I got to know what is wanted of me. What am I supposed to be doing? But tafkid zeh mitbateh b'miyuchad b'chodesh Shelo. And he said, that task that you have, that your whole life is only to serve and fulfill the Ratzon of the Eibishter, he said that's got a special expression in the whole of Chodesh Shelo. Why is that? So he said, Roshei Ateva Sheloi Hu Ani L'Doidi, to Kodesh Baruch Hu, V'Doidi Li. That's well known. One of the many Rosh Tevas that refer to El, but that is the main one brought down in the great Svarim. Ani Ladoidi, it's a pasuk in Shir HaShirim. Ani Ladoidi Ladoidili, I am to my loved one, and he is to me. Yeah, so he says, Ani Ladoidi is a Shabras im HaKadosh Baruch Hu, that I'm joining up, I'm taking myself and giving myself over to Doidi, to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Yeah, Hamizbatei, and that expresses itself. That's got two ways to it. Number one is what I have to do, milamata lamaila. Yeah, the ani ladoidi. That's the first thing. That's the beginning of the Rosh Hashanah. That's what I can and I'm expected to do in my Aveda, milamata lamaila, from below to above. However, there's also another aspect to it, of Ezrosei Hanediva Shalaboiri, and what that is doidili, that I have, if I will devote myself to what I'm supposed to be doing, then I for sure can rely on the fact that Hashem is going to be with me. Doidili, He's going to come and assist me in a way that only He can assist, because that's milmata lamata. Milmata l'mayla, that's only my little limited koyches, what I can do. And that's very dear to the Eibishter, and that's the whole reason that I was created, is therefore that comes first, because that's the dear thing by the Eibishter. If he helps me according to how he can help, then there's no limit to it. In other words, that the embracing of the Doidi Li is much more massive, Shalei Be'eret, than what I can do with my Ani Ladoidi. So therefore he says, Chodesh Shalom Melamed. Chodesh Shalom comes to teach us, She'al lanu yed l'sheves b'chibuk yadayim l'chakot l'matanot me'HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Therefore Chodesh Shalom teaches us that the whole sort of Aveda, you don't have to say, well, listen, the Eibishter created me, He's got to look after me. He's got to do it. What can I give? What can I do? He said, no. Therefore, you got to get moving, and you have to. They're not just sit and say, well, He'll help me, but you got to give everything you can give. Then He will help you. In other words, that the first and foremost thing, Ela lahipa, Eykev, labasis, shekoidem kol ba'avidosh shel hayudi ani l'doidi. First and foremost comes Ani Ladoidi, Barakli Achamikein, Yemikable Messrs. Rossi Yeruspara. If you do what the tachlis of the whole Bria, and the tachlis of the whole Bria is that you should do something, Ani Lo Nebrezi, Ela Lashamish is going, and you will do that, then you'll be zeichet to the help of a Kodesh Baruch. But if you just sit around and say, well, listen, what can I do? I'm just a, little old schlepper. So it could be you are, but that's another mindset. You've got to get moving, right? You've got to do what you're supposed to do, and you've got to put in your part. Now, I just want to take a minute here. There's a very profound principle involved here. In other words, we can ask ourselves the basic question, why did Hashem, what did He need the whole thing for? He was absolutely perfect before the world was created, and He's absolutely perfect now that the world has been created. So, what did He want of the whole Bria? What was the whole thing? And it's brought down and said that the whole thing is that He wanted Kaviyohu, that there should be another entity separate from Him. And that entity would feel itself to be like a separate entity. It would feel, that's what we call yesh. And that yesh would have in itself a tremendous investment of Hashem's absolute power, omnipotent power, to bring about that yesh. And that yesh is His infinitesimal dot, what He is, He should give Himself over completely to making Hashem adira loy betaktoinim, And you might say, well, why did he want that as Hashem? So the Alter Rebbe answered on that, we don't know why he wanted it. We don't know why, but we know that's what he wanted. When the Rebbe says that Elo expresses the whole klolus of Aveda, or that's the Nakuda Atzmi. You follow? The hidden Nakuda is that Hashem didn't need the whole business. What did he need it for? Yeah, he needed to reach the point that there would be this little infinitesimal nothing called the Yesh. And he would create, through the energy that he can give, limited as it is. Oh, but that's what the Ratzon is. That's what Hashem wanted. And that should cause a dwelling, for Kabiyohu, for the very essence of Hashem, that he should be able to dwell in this world, which it really doesn't have an existence, but that's what he wanted. Evamela Kaloima, that means to say, therefore Elo, which says first of all, Ani Ladoidi, and afterwards Doidili, is the sword of the whole Bria. The whole creation is hidden in the whole idea of Ani Ladoidi, and then afterwards Doidili. You follow? That's the whole, what you might call, stretch, behind the whole creation. That's it. That's what the Rebbe meant. You can't sit around and say, I'm waiting, Hashem will help me. He knows, and what am I? That's not the Nakuda. That's not why you were created. You were created to realize that you're the Ratzon, and Davki in you, Hashem wants that you should do something. That's the whole thing. Why he wanted that's another question, but that's what he wanted. Evamela Kadloima. Everybody gets divine assistance. Even before you begin anything. At Fortan Lakuti, there are two levels, in what we call Isarusa de la Eila, the help of the Eberstar. First of all, since you're a Gornish, and you are Be'emes a Gornish, how are you going to start Beklau? How can you start? So Hashem, but especially Sarusa, he prods you, he pushes you and gives you the quotas to start, to begin the whole union. Once you've done that, then he says, now it's up to you, boy, I've given you the push, now you've begun. I want now that my further identification with the whole business will come only through you. When you will do the Ani Ladoidi part of it, then I will be there. The other Isarusa Delayla, which follows your Isarusa Delatata. That's the Seder that the Rebbe is referring to. And therefore he says, everybody for sure, at the very beginning of every Avodah, he gets a certain help from Hashem. For example, the 13 Midas Arachim HaMa'idas B'Chodesh Shelo, Gam L'Aloi Avedas Ha'adam. The Alter Rebbe points out in L'chutei Torah that the 13 Midas Arachim we describe as being present in Chodesh Shelo are only to get you moving. The whole union of the 13 Midas Arachim are not the Eykev Avodah that's expected of you. They are pushing you and helping you to get ahead with the Avodah. And then there's another, further is the Rusa, the Latata, and that's Doidili. That's the emissary, is the Rusa, is the Rusa de la Eila, That's the emissary, is the Rusa de la Eila, which comes after you've already done what you're supposed to do. If I remember, the Rebbe is mapping out for me here the whole Seder. First of all, you'd give Midasa or Rachamim, what they give me the power to start. But I've got to do it. I've got to get moving. And that's Anila Ladoidi. I do my bit. Then there's a further divine assistance, and that is Doidili. That's the Isarusa, the La'ila, Emasa, which comes after I've done what I'm supposed to be doing. If I'm at an Nimtzalef, he said that I've got a whole Seder mapped out. How does it all function? If I'm at the Rebbe says, Ach im Zoyz, Loisu HaMatorah, that is the divine help which is there. But that's not the aim. That's not the goal. Davke kasher nivta, or nivatzea, slicha. Davke kasher nivatzea onu es tafkideinu. Davke when we do what we're supposed to do, natzlich likleid heitev es agiluim elokim agavoyim beyoisa, which means that you're supposed the la'ela hasheni, which comes after the ani ladud, is like we said, very, very high. That comes from Atzmuzay. The Yud Gimel Sarakamim are also high, but they're only to push you, to get you moving. But once you've got moving, yeah, and you're doing what you're supposed to be doing, where's your piece of paper? You don't know it. And you've got moving and doing what you're supposed to do, then you get the Doidi Li, which is incomparably higher revelation of the divine help. Lochin Elu Matchila Ba'alev, it just so happens, Lefizeh, that the, what you might call the Hashgacha, Proteus brought it about, that the word Elu begins with Aleph. And Aleph is the beginning of everything. Aleph is, and he caught the first thing up, at the beginning. So therefore he says, Eykev lahatkil milmata. The first thing is to begin from below yourself. Yeah, me Aleph. So you might say, well, I have to start. Like we said, I'm a bit of a schlepper. I've got to start off right from the beginning. So Hashem says, that's fine. Let's start all over. Yeah, that's the whole idea of Elu. Let's get moving. We'll start all together from the beginning, from Aleph. Yeah, me Aleph. But Davkikach niten lahamshik. And once you get to Aleph, then you move to Beis. Yeah? And what is Beis? Beis is twice Aleph. Oh, yeah. Beis is double what you started off with. And Gimel is how many? 3 times Aleph. And Dalet is 4 times Aleph. Which means that once you start and you get moving, yeah, and you zeicha to the second type of Tov, there's no limit. You just keep going and doubling and multiplying what you started off with. Which means that a person can't say, oh, what am I going to achieve out of all this anyway? You jump double each time. You go, you multiply your beginning, 3, 4, 5 at that time. You get up to hundreds and thousands, they give you what you were at the beginning. Yeah. That's what the Rebbe said. Kuntos for a lot of batlonim, we just sit around, we don't realize. So the Rebbe said, Yachadim za'ishka homo, achelech ha'sheini shebamil elu, doidi li, mesameles ez rosh shel HaKadosh Baruch Hu la'adam. However, it's true, and we can't avoid the fact that Elu, in order to be completely Elu, the Rebbe says, Ani Ladoidi is not Elu. Ani Ladoidi is only half of it. And the whole Elu is when I have V'doidi Li. Yeah? He said, I have to have the V'doidi Li also in Elu. So he said, Ei Nachanami. Yeah, the V'doidi Li, however, that's indicatory of a Kodesh Baruch Hu's part of the deal. Yeah, Ulam, מכיוון שגם זה חלק מחודש החשבון על הווידה של יהודי, since even the divine help is part of all the cheshbon that you're making, מובן שזה מסמל גם דרך נוספת בעבודתו של יהודי. It's an amazing, profound point. The Rebbe says, when Hashem helps you, you shouldn't just ride on the wave. But when Hashem helps you and you feel you're getting divine, then you have to cash in on that gufa, and that divine help coming from a very high level has to become part of your own avoidance. In other words, you start off with your own power, and then you get in El itself, before Rosh Hashanah, you get divine help which pushes you in such a way that it becomes involved in your own efforts, and the two, as it were, unite together. And therefore, says the Rebbe, that's an extra form of Aveda. Yet thereby, you Evidas Hashem Melamayla Lamata, that he's able to serve Hashem also, not just Melamayla Lamata with his effort, He's able to serve milmaila lamata, mibli lishchasher klal b'kashay yoy ha'ilom. What does that mean? When you're doing your part of it and you meet up with a difficulty, it's a whole business. Yeah, you make a whole fuss out of it, you get all shit, and you're all in a problem and this and that. He said, but if you're going with Hashem's help, and your whole avodah is now together with Hashem, then what's the difficulty? It's nothing. Like every Hashem, a small setback or a small piece of difficulty is absolutely nothing. Of a matter that gives you the power to overcome all the difficulties within. That's what the Rebbe said. Of a matter, the doini li adds a whole other facet and very unlimited power into the Ani L'Doid. So that Ani L'Doid is the Eykev. But together with that, Hashem gives you additional unlimited power. But He waits to see that you're going to make an effort yourself. And then He gives it to you. Therefore, there are 2 days of Rosh Chodesh, Elul. There are 2 ways in Elul itself and in Beklalis Avodah. He said, he said the first way starts from Sunday, interesting enough. And so here the Rebbe says that the Eykev union of time begins from Sunday. So we see that we count 7 days, and we get to Shabbos, and then we stop and we go back to the beginning again. This is why? Because we relive our whole lives in cycles of 1 week. The whole time is divided into 7 day cycles of a week, and they are connected to 7 days of the creation. And therefore we say Hayom Yom Rishon, meaning that today is like a dogma of the first day of creation, and that reoccurs the whole time, ever since creation. What happened on the first day? That's when we started everything. That's when the mensch began. That's when Adam Rishon made his first step forward, was on Yom Rishon. So therefore the Rebbe says everything really begins in Beseder HaAvodah on Sunday. And that's the Eykev Drisha that we have, Ani L'Doid. You make your start, that is on Sunday. In a way, that's like going from the easy to the heavy, because I've only got 1 day, and I have a big lot of Siyata Dishmai on Sunday, because it's only me and the Abish. There's nobody else yet. But then on the second day of the creation, there was the whole business with the waters and the machlekas and the mason. And then on the third day, there's a lot more in the creation, a lot more to faith. And so therefore, said the Rebbe, you're really working from the easy to the more difficult. You go every day of the week and you make more effort and more effort, and so then you will reach the finality of everything on Shabbat. He said, that you begin on Shabbos. For example, I'll give you a dugma. There's a child in the Gemara, it's put down in Shulchan Aruch. A person's going in the desert, let's say, and he's forgotten which day is which. He doesn't know what day of the week it is, and he doesn't know when Shabbos is. So what does he do? There are 2 opinions. One opinion says from that moment that he realized that, he has to count 6 days, and then keep the 7th day as Shabbos. Another opinion is that he immediately makes Shabbos on the spot. That day that he all of a sudden realized that he doesn't know where he is, he has to make that in Shabbos, and then he counts the other 6 days afterwards. So that's basically what the Rebbe is saying here, that if you go mitzat Shabbos Kodesh, then you're like starting off at the finality and the perfection of everything, which means that you begin, as it were, with a completion and you start off as if you had everything in your pocket, and you've got tremendous powers, and then you count the other 6 days, which means that you're able to bring down into the other 6 days all the tremendous things you got in your pocket from starting off in the highest point in Shabbat. You follow? So the Rebbe says that's why we have 2 days of Rosh Chodesh Elul. On the one hand, you get a Nasinas Koyat from starting off, as it were, by Shabbos, and then you go to Sunday, but that's really the Eykev of what's required of you, is really Sunday. He says, therefore, he says, you have Matchila, B'yem HaShabbos, Shabo Melachatchila, Lo Yisefri Meso'elam. Once you get to Shabbos, there's nothing to count anymore, because you're going to start the next day all over again. So you're not counting anything. Yeah, you do everything in Mo'mayla Lamata. So therefore the Rebbe says, the Gemara says in Masechet Avodah Zarah, that all the efforts you have to make on the Erev Shabbos, which doesn't mean just Friday, but all the days leading up to Shabbos, in order that you should have what to eat on Shabbos. And so how do you eat on Shabbos? You walk in Friday night, you get a wet and great sunnah. In other words, you don't go fishing around, what have I got and how do I get it? But you walk in and everything is there, you got your lechem mishnah and your wine. Alles is, even from Tachlis Ashlemus Malachatchila. So the Rebbe said that gives a power into the other 6 days that you should be able to do what you're supposed to do, and that's very important. And that's the inyan of counting and beginning all over again. And that's Shabbos, and now the Rebbe is going to tell us, the Rebbe says, well, what about Adam Rishon? He started off on Yom Rishon, and it took him 6 days to get to Shabbos, yeah? And what was with him, where was all this Nasinas Koyach of Shabbat giving into the Avodah? So the Rebbe brings down, that's brought in great sources, a very fascinating thing, particularly in Sifrei HaKabbalah, that there was like a whole week and Shabbos before the world was created. That the Eberster in Olam HaTzilas, there was already what's called a Seder Zmanim. It wasn't Mami's mom like we have, because it's a creation. But it was like a Seder of order in events. And those orders that took place in Olam HaTzilas before you had actual creation, they were in nuances like Yom Rishon, Yom Sheni, Yom Shlishi, and you get the Shabbat. So there was Shabbos before the world was created. And that Shabbos before the world was created, that gave Adam Rishon, or that gave him the mind of having a Shabbos before, which gave him all the perfection of Shabbos and affected him with all the power to start on. And then he was on his own. Then it was his business. And he learned, or you get the power from Shabbos, and that gives you the power to start on. Yeah. It's only just that here it's a little bit sort of the Doidi Li is before the Anila Doidi. So the Rebbe says, Einochanami, that's a little bit, but you can't ever. And then the Rebbe said, we have a dogma of that in Parshas Bahar, when we're taught about the Shemitah. First of all, the Pasuk says that when you come in there, you have to make a Shemitah. And then you count 6 days, and then you make Shemitah. So the Rebbe said, make up your mind, right? You count 6 years and make Shemitah, or you have Shemitah and immediately get it. So he said, both things are true. And that was the Shabbos before. So the same with Shemitah. Hashem gives you power right from the beginning that you'll be able to do that. And that's why it's killer. You have the Shemitah before you even start the 6 years. And Mamela, it's both things are true. So, says the Rebbe, Shnei Drochim Eilu, he said, these 2 different ways. HaKayomim Oid Misheshes Yemei Bereishis, what they are there even since the beginning of the whole world. Yeshekein Oilam Nira B'Yom HaRishon, that the world was created on the first day. Kedei Lalamed Al Derech Aveda Milmata Lamayla. Ve'ilu B'Sifrei HaKabbalah Mavua, Shelifnei Zeh Hayom Yom Shabbos. Yeah, there was the Shabbos before the creation, like we said. V'achachach ba Yom Rishon Milmailala. So they had already the Messiah's Koach of Shabbos, Adam Rishon, before he began with Aleph, before he began the whole thing. Yeah. Avamela Dizinyonim Akayomim Eitzel Kol Yehudi. Every Yid has got these two ways of Avodah, not just in the Seder Hazmani, not just in how it is in the weekdays and the Shabbos or in Elul and the whole year, but the Rebbe says that just the way you live and the way you're made in your whole Avodas Hashem, you've got those two aspects to you. And he said that is the Guf and the Neshama. So he said the Neshama is a Chelek Elokah Mimal. So the Neshama, as a word, doesn't really need you. The Neshama is holy and Elokus before it begins. Yeah, you get the Neshama inside you, and what's the whole taglis that you should affect the body? Your whole inyan is to start off from Aleph in idling and making the guf better and making it into a dear Elohim's body. We got both in Yonim. We've got starting off all from the beginning with the body, but I have the Nasina square, Mumaila, what that is my neshama, which is a Chelek Elokah, Mimal Mami, or that is the Nasina square, and that's the power that's put into us that allows us and uses the power that we should be able to carry out the Bira Hagul, and that's the Anila Ladoidi part of it. So the Rebbe says that in your very makeup, you have both of these in you. So he says, Aguf Nivra Mina Ofo. In other words, how's it written that Hashem said to Marisha Ki Ofo Ato, Mina Eikato, Ki Mina Ofo, Ki Ofo Ato, Vela Ofo Toshu, after the Chait, he said to Adam Marisha. Meaning that Adam Marisha Be'etzim is Ofo, all of us are Ofo. He said, but Almanas Lazachakoi, or Lekachoi, Nidresses of Veda Rabba, and to how do you call it, purify and make holy the guf, which is the offer. You have to have a great deal of effort, la'at, and that takes a lot of gradual work. Avu Batua, if you go gradually and step by step, then you're for sure going to make it. By working, first of all, Yom Rishon, and then Yom Sheni, and then Yom Shlishi, the whole week is in order to work with the body. But you get the Nasina square from your Neshama. Ulam Neshama, Nishmas HaYehudi. The Neshama Vayid, Hilamayla Legamrei, it's completely beyond the Hagbolas of the world. As one knows, the famous story of the Rebbe Rashad when he was learning Tanya with the Rebbe Rayat, that he said to him that the Neshama is a Chelek Elokah Mimal Mami, that the Mamish part of it is referring to this world, which is how do you call it? Mamish. It's the physicality that you can touch, that the divine soul is so high that it's able to affect even the mamish, the mamoshes of the world. It's a sign that the neshama is beyond limitations. Even the physicality and materialism of the world doesn't affect the neshama. So he said, Shagam Khan, Ba'ilam Hamamoshi, Yadayin Chelek Elokah, it's a divine portion. Umitzad Neshama, Nitan Levateya Vedas, Gavoy Hoish Ma'id. Mitzad the Neshama, you can achieve the highest madregas, Ula Hagila Madrega Elokiyas, Nailis, to reach very, very high divine levels, Ad L'Shalemus Aveda, Melamailala, Mata, all those inyonim are all given to you, milmaila lamata. Yeah, so the Rebbe said in Cain, you've got milmata lamaila yuguf, and that's the Yemei Choil. And then you got milmaila lamata, which is your neshama, and that's betugmas hashabbos, and that gives you all the koyah to carry out everything expected of you in the days of the week. It follows that it comes that I have, ani ladoidi, vadoidi li in my etzem, Eykev. So the Rebbe says, mikol zeh nitan lahasik. From all this, I can reach the conclusion that a yid tzorik tomid la'avedas Hashem b'shnei mishoyrim. A yid has always got to serve the Eibishter with two different aspects, or two different views. Mitzad echad, olav la'avedas Hashem b'tzura mesuderet. B'aliyah, shlav, shlav. He has to go step after step. Yom Rishon, Yom Sheni, Yom Shlishi. Well, that's his anila. That's his part of it. And that's the Eykev, what the Eivishter really wanted, as we point out. Yom Kippur, that says you have to make an effort. Am I doing my job? Am I carrying out what this demand is? Even in Yom Kippur, you have to ask yourself that question. And afilu b'simchas Torah, v'arayeh shegam heim chelek miyamei hashavua. They're also part of the week. Shemiskadmim lefi haSeder, Rishon, Sheni, Shlishi, v'Halua. Mitzad Sheni, Tomid, Gam b'Yamei Achol, Tzorik Yehudi la'avedas Hashem milmaila. He's supposed to ally with his efforts also the divine assistance and the divine presence milmaila lamata. Last is kol abitosei b'shleimas. To bring out all that his neshama can give him a Shabbat shaloi. That's the chilek at Shabbat that he's got in himself, and he has to have everything finished in a way, and that gives him the power to keep hammering away in the days of the week and to keep going upwards. Anila ladoidi. Avamela, says the Rebbe, or that's the Indian, kamasupa. It's like it's brought down, Al Shama Hazoken, Shahoya Eichel, Kola Shavua, Lekovet Chabad. V'kol Dvar Toiv, Shahoya Loi, Oya Oime, Zeh Lekovet Chabad. What the Gemara Masechta Beitza brings down a machlekes between Shammai and Hillel, not Beis Shammai, between Shammai and Hillel himself. And it's written that Shammai, he used to live the whole week with Shabbos. And it's written that if, let's say, on Yom Rishon, somebody went out and he saw a nice behemoth, he would say, oh, that behemoth I'm going to keep for Shabbos. It's a beautiful behemoth. I'm putting that aside for Shabbos. And so Monday morning he walks out and he sees even better behemoth than that one. So what did he do? He would slaughter that one of Sunday, and he would say, oh, this one I'm going to keep for Shabbos. And then if he saw an even better one, he would do the same. He would slaughter that, and he would say, oh, this one is for Shabbos. Avamela, Shammai was the whole time, he was living with Shabbos. He was the whole time. The koyach of Shabbos was hammering away in Shammai. So Hillel says, I don't go for all this. He says, Hillel says, Baruch Hashem, Yom Yom, I'll wait for the Eibishter, and he will for sure give me what I need for Shabbat. And whenever I need it, then Hashem will give me. I don't have to keep working. So that's what Hillel says. So the Rebbe said that Shammai's got a very good point. He was the whole time living with Shammai. So normally we paskin according to Beis Hillel. So this is a rare case where we paskin according to both of them. Both of them are right. And the Alter Rebbe brings down in Hilchos Shabbos, in Shulchan Aruch, he brings down both the opinions. And he says you have to do according to Beis Shammai, but you also have to know that ultimately you're in Hashem's hands, and he will make sure you have what you really need. You have to, but if you want to do what Shammai said, it's also good. In other words, that you have to live the whole time with the Shabbos. You have to live with the service of Shabbos, and that gives you the power. Yeah, that also in the weekday you'll be able to do what you're supposed to do. Or with the ultimate shleimas is what you're supposed to do. And therefore the Rebbe says that in these 2 days of Rosh Chodesh, the main one is Sunday. Because Shabbos, a beautiful Nesinas Koyak and everything, but that's the 30th of, it still belongs to all, not yet Elul. The first day of Elul is Sunday. That's when you start the whole Eykev. That's the Eykev. Therefore, most of the minhagim of Elul begin on Sunday, not Shabbos. They begin on the second day. Yeah, like Tkir Shofar and all sorts of things begin only on the second day. There's only 1 or 2 small things connected with Elul that we start on the first day. Because the ultimate shleimus is on Ila Doidi. That's the ultimate threat. So the Rebbe goes on, and I can see that everybody's getting a bit sort of worn out. So, what is the main point that the Rebbe makes between now and like the end of the Sikha? The Rebbe says that it's brought down in Tanya that when the Eibusha, we mentioned this briefly before, when the Eibusha made the Yesh, that was Kaviyoko Koyach Atzma. And that's why it is that it's so dear to Hashem that he wants that Yes, to give back to him everything it can and build him a dira, because that's, as it were, the yes, even though the yes has got a lot of problems to him, but he's like the apple of Hashem's eye. That's the ultimate taklit, the ultimate rotzen, and the ultimate tainu of Hashem is in that year. Therefore, the Rebbe says, Davki, when you come down into the body and the neshama enters the body, that's when all the really big things start to happen. And what happened, what was by the Eibusha before the Bria and everything, it's all wonderful, and Hashem doesn't change. But when they get to a certain inyan which we call Ritzoinoi, where Kavanosai, well, that begins Davki when your little neshama enters your body. And all these wondrous things only occur through the entrance of the neshama into the body. So Hashem doesn't leave you walking around. He doesn't say, okay, find your way. But he gives you the power of Shabbos, and he gives you the power of being Lamayla Mikol Zed, but he wants you ultimately to make your own effort. And that is Davki, Lamata. And that's the end with the Eykev. That Eykev means the lowest part of the body. How do you call it? The lowest letdown cover off of the Eykev. Yeah? And Davki there has to be Tish Miyun. You have to make your effort there, you know. And then you get all the brachas. Shoma Hashem Elokecha Lokos Abris, V'asa Chesed, V'asa Shavua. Yeah. Hashem will just give you everything. If you make that effort, Davka when you're down here in the lowest of all places in the, in Davka in the Eykev, then Hashem wants you to make the effort. And that's the whole inyan. You have the connection with Parshas Eykev, with the inyan of Elul, that's the inyan for now, but you have this tremendous Nasim Nishkoyak, but that's the Neshama, but she's the inyan of Shabbos, that's inside all of her. So the same is the Rebbe, that our generation is holding in the Eykev of the whole creation. We're holding in the Eykev, the last point before Mashiach. And therefore, our cheshbon and effort that we make has to be, am I using all these amazing things that Hashem gave me? And am I making my effort in a way that I'm working towards the Geula Shlema? Am I doing everything I can to bring Moshiach B'Poel Mamish? And that's part of the whole plan of the whole thing, that we that's not our choice of it. That's what happened to us, that we were born into the the generation, which is before Mashiach, and that's what we got the job. We didn't ask for it, but we got it. We have the task, we got to bring Mashiach, yeah,
Amen.
Okay, so everybody, l'chaim, I don't want to say l'chaim and coffee, but we'll do so for the moment. It's l'chaim, and that's the picture here. So let's get moving on Shabbat. Yeah, let's prepare for Yom Rishon, and let's prepare afterwards for the Rosh Hashanah. It should be with a cloth, you say a little more cloth.
Yeah.
So fine.
Thank you.
I don't understand what you repeat. Sure. That's the secret of the Hezbollah. Know that he doesn't just mean that they're Jew. You know the story of the Zeus. You know that. Zeus said that when he come up in front of the presidential miners, they're not going to say to him, why won't you, Rabbi Pliny and why won't you one of the Rishonim? They're going to say, why weren't you Zeus? You have what you got to future with. Everybody has a minimal power that he can give, and that minimal power can grow. Like I said, every day you can add, and you can become an unlimited power. Until the Rebbe said one huge shot about every year, that every year is potentially a hydrogen bomb. That's what the Rebbe said. No. Every year is potentially a hydrogen bomb. Yeah. The Rebbe said about every year that he was you can let up in it, you can. It'll blow the whole world.
Oh, no, amen.
Azat for Baruch.
I think so.
I don't understand. Give a plate and some coin. Help me with the coin over there, please. Hey. Alter Rebbe in Tanya today. Alter Rebbe in Tanya. Shir Tanya. Like the Rebbe says, Chelik, instead of bringing Chelik Elokam Imam Mamish, he uses Ein Lo Chelik Elokei Yisrael. A dugma of Chelik.
Yes, we're in the Chittas today.
Why is he used Ein Lo Chelik Elokei Yisrael? The Hobbin, the Loshen Chazal, Ein Lo Chelik Elokei Yisrael. Why doesn't he say Chelik Elokam Imam Mamish? Why does he use the Loshen? Really?
Not really catching.
Anything that's on the table.
They're only in order to open up occasions or something. Yeah. What he means is that what you can understand sort of nuances. On the one hand, chelik would be like an essential part of the etzem. If I say this is a chelik of that, but however I can mean chelik like mathematically, I can say that how the halachos make one or whatever. So the Alter Rebbe is saying that the word chelik can be understood by Parshas as being that type of thing. But that doesn't really fit into the whole idea of terror. It's that with the way
he says, Ashreinu Matei Chalkein, Ashreinu Matei Chalkein. The Loshen Chelik has a big the
terror is stuck in there. That's right. Here he brings the famous Gemara, Masechet Megillah, that Vayikra Loi Elokei Yisrael.
Because both told him.
I'll invite him. I'm going to tell him I'm
Ashreinu Matei Chalkeinu, Oyom Anoim, Gairoleinu. Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam pri Gafne.
Semach ben Eliezer.
Semach ben Eliezer.
Real reveal about
serious.
Cheshbon nefesh.
That brings the box.
Amen. Yaakov is watching.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Oh, that's wonderful. Oh, Shalom Aleichem Yaakov. I'm really thrilled. I'm feeling very inadequate that I haven't been in touch with you. But I've kept up with the news, and Mordechai gave me good news. And Baruch Hashem, you came through the operation with flying colors, and you're making good progress. Baruch Hashem. And please forgive me for my lack of communication, but as usual, I've been very taken up. But we're all tremendously happy that you're improving, and we're waiting to see you back here with flying colors, taking me out there.
Amen. For Shlomo.
I was once by a Fabringen with the Rebbe, and the Rebbe said in English, all this should be as soon as possible. But in English that means, well, you all speak English. So the Rebbe said it should be as soon as possible. Then the Rebbe said, and the MS is, it should be sooner than soon as possible. That's what the Rebbe said.
Wow. Amen. Amen.
So listen, I just want to give over a little Indian, which is still connected with Koch, with the yahrzeit of the Rebbe's father, Akuin from Kubur, Levi Yitzchok Smith, and Jacob Tzfat. So what I want to say is like this. I have, it's well known, those who know me, I have a craze about Sforim, you know. And somehow, whether I want it or not, I seem to just swivel in the direction of Sforim, or they come my way, even if I don't. I don't plan it. So the other day, I had to go down to Mahol Chayyim. I had an appointment down there about something. And there's a Sforim store down there. And I had about 12 minutes till I had to be by the appointment. So I said, I'm here 12 minutes, I'm right on the side of the Sforim store. How can I possibly go to the appointment without going into the Sforim store? So I walk into this, and I've got a couple of minutes, I've got to get it here. I've got to buy myself a saver. It's got to be a good saver. So all of a sudden I noticed above where I usually never look. I don't look at that part of they usually just have small things for kids. And all of a sudden I see they have a saver called Tzroyer HaMoyer. The Tzroyer HaMoyer, he was at the time of the Ger Shvat. He was very early. He was like at the end of the Rishonim and the beginning of the Acharonim, but he was very Kadmon. And he was a big godel amongst the Rabboni Sfarad, both in Nigla and in Kabbalah and in Pnimis Satel. And he was an amazing person. So he gradually began writing this sefer, which appears on the whole Chumash, but it appears b'derech Pshat, and it also has a lot of Kabbalah and all sorts of, and he says all sorts of very significant pirushim in this great sefer. So what happened was that all of a sudden there was this terrible whole thing with Spanish. What happened, you know, the ger, what's called the driving out, the ger, the whole thing, and a whole tremendous number of Yidden managed to get out of Spain and settle in Portugal. But at that time it was like neutral; it wasn't into the whole thing. So they thought that if they settle in Portugal, it's going to be good. So he managed to take with him his Ksavim. And he writes about it himself. It's absolutely unbelievable, the Tzores and everything they went to. Anyway, he took with him all of his manuscripts. And they get into Portugal, and they settled there for a few years, and everything was fine. Then all of a sudden, the king of Portugal also went mad. And the next thing is the most terrible recreation of the whole Inquisition in Portugal. And this time the king really went mad. He said, the Jews have to get out of here quick, or I'm going to wipe them all out. And they're not allowed to take anything. No, none of their Sforim, none of their things, none of their, they just have to save their lives and get out of here quick before I destroy them all. So he had no prayer. He tried at the beginning, but they took it away from him gradually. And he wasn't left with one sefer, and all his manuscripts and all the things that he'd written, years and years, that he'd written the sefer on Chamisha Chumsei were all taken away and all destroyed. And he went through the most terrible suffering. And so what did he do when eventually he got to the east? I don't know exactly where it was. and he was able to settle a little. He decided that there's nothing to be done. He has to rewrite the whole Sefer. So he rewrit a second time, the whole Sefer. That he'd been working on it for so many years. And he started in pen and paper, and not there with a computer, with a pen and paper, and with his memory, he didn't have all his swine. And he wrote the book all over again. So when I saw that, my eyes just, I jumped out and I thought to myself, this is the whole essence of Koch Menachem. This is the whole message that we see that, the Rebbe had the most wonderful Rabbonas. It was one of the most great Rabbonas within the whole Russia, and even outside of Russia, the Rebbe's father's influence was well known. Big Rabbonim used to ask him questions, and be Majayat with him, with everything. And the whole thing just gradually went down, and then they persecuted the Rebbe, his father. They had to go and arrested him, and he was never tortured, and everything. It was just so terrible, And everything, the horror went to him. Everything just went down, and the Rebbe's father passed away. He didn't have the ability to start writing again. It didn't follow because his health and everything was so weak after the whole thing. And they lived, even after the Rebbetzin came to join him, they lived in terrible conditions amongst the Goyim in this town. And only later they moved to Alma-Ata. At the beginning they were in a town called Chayi, it was called. And that was not in Alma-Ata. Alma-Ata was only they were brought on the condition that certain people would give them like a house. So it wasn't a big house, but it was at least a dira. Until that, they'd been living in a small dira that was owned by a Goyish woman. She used to give them sodas. It was, everything they went through. So I thought to myself, most people who put in tremendous effort into things like to see that their son or their Talmud or somebody will continue, and will be all the effort that they put in, and it will continue. And they see the fruits of their efforts before they pass away or whatever, They see it going further. The Rebbe's father, he didn't see that. All he saw was destruction. And he saw that he had no prayer anymore, and he passed away in a very tragic way in the Golden. And it's well known that Chinuch, the Sefer Chinuch writes that, somebody who's Rotzeh, B'Shgoge, he gets Goddess. So why does he need Goddess? The Gemara says that he also needs a Kapora. And so it's written that Goddess Mechaperes. And that saves him from the Inyan Amisa. So the Chinuch says that in some ways, nonetheless, Golas is worse than Misa. Because you just sort of cut off from everything you had and everything you represented. In all your environment, everything. You have to live in some place, is that the even Golas has got a worse aspect to it, even than Misa. So he brings the Sefer Chinuch. So we see all this Makuyim by the Rebbe's father, and they all went the Torah to Timoyim, to nothing, and nothing was left. Because all these Rishoyim, they got the upper hand, and they won. The Rebbe's father passed away in the Goddess itself. And he didn't see the continuance, and yet nonetheless, he went knowingly into the whole thing. Who he had done, that he's going to face all of it. He knew, because he refused to cooperate with their rishas, and he knew. I know Rav Nachum Goldsmith, that I was like a Talmud of Rav Nachum Goldsmith. He knew the Rebbe's father very well. He lived in Yekaterinburg when the Rabbanus was in its development. And he knew the Rebbe's father very well. And the Rebbe's father once asked him his opinion, should I cooperate or should I not? So he didn't know what to say. And he said, well, what can I tell the Rav? I'm just an oldie, but I don't think the Rav should, So the Rebbe's father said to him, oh, that's interesting that you say that, because that's what I hold also. And he knew very well, because in the letters that they wrote, they threatened that if you don't cooperate, then all away. It was clear. So he knew, and yet nonetheless he went into it. It's just unbelievable, and he passed away. So the Rebbe's father didn't start writing all over again, like the Tzorah did. He didn't start writing all over again. But he started all over again. V'odei. He has a son who is the Rebbe. Yeah. And the Rebbe is taking over the whole world. And all those unbelievable values that he got from his father, that is becoming the property of mankind. And it's spreading all throughout the whole world. And that is Moshiach. Whether you're a Meshachist or whether you're not, whether you hold the Rebbe is this or whatever, let's not go into all that. But we see the power of Moshiach in the world, through the Rebbe. And the power of Moshiach Mamish is working in and through the Rebbe. So what they thought that they put the Rebbe's father into a grave in Alma Ata, and they said, oh, that's it. Yadeinu Rama, they are the losers, absolutely. They are completely and utterly verschmettered. They're trodden down into Gornish McGornish, and Yadeinu Rama is the Rebbe's father. He is conquering and triumphing the whole of mankind, the whole of existence, with his unbelievable son. And where did he get that from? He got it from his father, the power. And like the Rebbe once said, that the reason he shrayed and he complained about all sorts of issues, because he saw that by his father. He said his father never hesitated. Whenever you had to be moicha or protest, then his father would do it for Kol Ram, and he was never afraid of anybody. And he was never interested in money, and he was never interested in his position. But for the sake of the emes, he would be prepared to speak out. And once, I was there, I heard it from the Rebbe. The Rebbe said that he got that from his father. That's what he said. The Rebbe used that expression. So the question is, who wins? Who's the winner? Who is the ultimate winner? And who is the ultimate triumphant overtaker, not just of Alma-Ata, not just of Yekaterinoslav, and not just of a big part of Russia, but taking over the whole of mankind. We're talking about mankind. Because the Rebbe is not stopping with Yin. He's taking to the Peklach also the Goyim, the Umas Oilam, and everything is gradually being absorbed into this whole amazing victory of Tzedek v'Yosher, and goodness. And how do the tanks say it? Do one act of goodness and kindness and bring Mashiach. That's the Rebbe, and that's for the whole of mankind. That's not just for you. Of a matter who won, who when they buried the Rebbe's father in Alma-Ata, who was winning? He was winning. At the moment of his yortzeit and his burial, that was the beginning of his unbelievable victory over the whole of mankind. So we have to be mischazik. We have to realize that there's never a lost issue. No matter what Hashem does, one way or another, there comes out of it. Even though you may not see it at that particular moment. It may take a bit of time, but there's going to come out of it only Yeshua, V'Hatzolah, V'Kol Am Yisrael. There's no such thing as a lost cause. And let's say, by way of suggestion, that that's what was working inside the unbelievable holy head of the Rebbe's father, because he went in knowingly into the whole Torah. He went in, but he knew that was only temporary. He knew in his holy mind that this is only just the beginning. But what's going to go out of it is something. And that is an unbelievable nobility on the part of a human being. I don't think it's possible for a human being to reach anything higher than that. That is the most, you agree with me, Mordechai? That's the most elevated possible nobility that a human being can reach and show. And that's what we see here. In other words, that I remember when I was a younger man, not long after I'd been married, I was living in B'nai Brak. B'nai Brak was this sort of main street with a few shops. And there was the Doya, was in the middle of Rabbi Akiva Street, and on the top of the Doya was a few buildings, like, houses, dealers.
Post office.
So I used to look for gemachim, I used to need a gemach to help me along. We were pushing it in those days. So somebody said to me that there's a guy, he lives over the Doya. If you go up a couple of steps, go up a couple of flights up into the higher part of the building, there lives there, he's got a gemach, and he gives gemach. I said, oh, that's good. So one Thursday or Friday, I don't remember exactly when it was, just before Shabbat, I creep up the steps and I creep up. I see, and it's written on the door, it's written Gemach Neitza. Neitza. Gemach Neitza. I thought, that sounds good, Gemach Neitza. So I knock on the door. Actually, it comes out well past his middle-aged gentleman, without a beard. And he's obviously hasn't had an easy life, He's, he looks sort of, he's battling, fly. So I asked him if he'd give me a gemach, and he said, yes, you have to wait for a couple of, 3 weeks or 4 weeks, but I can organize you a gemach. Let's come in and we'll talk about it. So I walk in, and all of a sudden he sort of looks at me, very sort of powerfully, and he said, a Chabadska. He said, are you a Chabadska? So I said, well, I said, I try to be, I'd like to be a Chabadska. He said, that's good. He said, you think you can tell me about your Rebbe? He said, I can tell you about your Rebbe. That's what he said to me. So immediately my ears prick up. My eyes about the Rebbe, let's hear it. I said to him, oh yes, I'm sure you can. What is it? So you know what he says? That a few years ago, he went to America looking for one member of the family that had been left over from the Shoya. One member of his family, a cousin or something. This was the only other living member of his old family that was still alive. And he was living somewhere in the United States, so he went over to visit. Somebody said to him, before you go to State Pliny, if you're in New York, try and get an interview with the Lubavitcher. It's worth it, it's worth it. So he said he went, and I said, you have to wait a couple of weeks, but if you're prepared to be patient, we'll get you in. We'll make you a visitor from outside. In those days, it was easier, we're going back a long time. So he eventually gets in to see the Rebbe, and I just want to remind you that he once wrote a little book after he came to Eretz. He wrote a little sefer which was eventually printed like a small softback, but in that gufa, a small thing, about the Mekoyim HaKadoshim. He'd done a lot of research about the different. Nowadays, thousands of people go to these places. In those days, nobody knew anything much about except for Rashbi and the Khoisan. Nowadays, everybody goes. Water buses the whole time. So he wrote a little Seder. So B'Chitta, he gives the Rebbe his tzedel, and he's got his name written on the tzedel. So the Rebbe looks at his name, and the Rebbe looks at him, and the Rebbe looks back at the tzedel. And he said, the Rebbe says to him, tell me, you wrote a sefer about the Mekonos Kedeshim.
Holy places, holy sites.
Was it you? Yeah. So, he said his mouth he just fell over with absolute amazement. And he couldn't talk, he was just so affected, he couldn't say anything. So the Rebbe looks at him, the Rebbe said, what's it, these pilots? And the Rebbe said, what's your being so affected? So he says, ich hab gehört, der Lubavitcher Rebbe trug die ganze Welt auf sein Plätze. I heard that the Lubavitcher Rebbe carries the whole world on his shoulder. And he said, the Lubavitcher Rebbe hat Zeit zu lernen und gucken in mein kleines Sefer. He said, das ist nicht möglich. It doesn't. I said, it's just impossible that you should have time to look in my little Sefer. So the Rebbe looked at me, and what the Rebbe said to him? The Rebbe said, by uns is makubal, by uns. That's what that means in Yiddish, by us. He didn't say by me, he said by uns is makubal. That's every hour is a netzach. Every hour is an eternity, and every day is bleak wool. Smashuk is a very strange expression, what the Rebbe said to him. Meaning that every moment is a whole eternity. You can fit in with it. But it just so happens that his gemach was called Netzach. And the Rebbe said to him that every minute is a Netzach. And stop, with the word Netzach. So he was just so absolutely, thunderstruck that he immediately started to back, out of the room. So the Rebbe said to him, we didn't talk about your personal matter, and you are leaving already. So he said, how can I possibly take a netzach away from the Rebbe? That's what he said. How can I take a netzach? So the Rebbe smiled, and the Rebbe said, Iris a netzach is by me as and he had a gemach called Netzach, and the Rebbe said, a netzach of yours is very important to me. That's what the Rebbe said to him. And he said he just couldn't, he was just so thunderstruck. So he said, let's examine for a moment the word Netzach. He said, what does Netzach mean? He said, Netzach means the victory of the Jewish people. He said, they thought that they were pushing us into the Gassam, and they were treading down on the Jewish people. He said, Snishta the Ela Netzach. Netzach means that we are the victors, and we are taking over again the whole creation. And that's what the Rebbe was Maramas mean. He said that every moment is a Netzach. It's a victorious thing. It's not just a valuable thing. It's a victorious thing. That's what this guy said to me. Now, just imagine, I'm a young man. I was only a couple of years after my husband, and I'm hammering along and I'm battling along, and all of a sudden I hear these words from somebody who knows what he went through and what he suffered. And yet, nonetheless, you live with the word Netzach, and the Rebbe poured it out of him. That is just unbelievable. And that is the Rebbe. The Rebbe represents the koach of his father, that there's no negativity, there's nothing that is a loss. Everything is Netzach. Netzach is, and therefore Shmulinov said, V'neitzach Yisrael lo yishaker v'lo yinachem. The Eibishter, who's Neitzach Yisrael, he will never change and he will never, go back on what he said. Why? Because that's him. He is the Emerson, Amita, Samatia, and therefore he's the Neitzach. And that's the Rebbe, that's the whole Muslim, and that's the Rebbe's father. And when I think back now about that, he's no longer amongst the living, poor man. He was already not so strong when I saw him. But here he was living way up in a little dira, at the top of, over the door in Bnei Brak. And he saw himself as the ongoing victory of the Jewish people, and therefore he had a gemara. And he loaned money to people, and he called it Neitzach. Isn't that amazing? And he saw the Rebbe, and he heard those unbelievable words, and that unbelievable message he heard from the Rebbe. So I think that sums up, in a very real way, the whole meaning of Koch Menachem. You follow that? Yeah. What Koch Menachem was all about. That's why it's such an important day. It's a tremendous day. We've got to know that no such thing as a setback. Even if you know you're going into a setback, and even if you know, don't ever think that there won't eventually be a Neitzach. There's eventually going to be Koach and Neitzach. Why? Because Neitzach Yisrael lo yishaker lo yinach. So there we are, guys, and I just thank every day Hashem that he gave me the privilege that I met these people. First of all, I met the Rebbe. 8 times I had personal talk with the Rebbe, and that's the most unbelievable gift that Hashem gave me. But secondly, I met all these people, and I met that year. That's a very precious thing. And then I met, and in the Zalvapinian, hat gewohnt der Eidem von Moshe Guardia. Moshe Guardia hat a Yiddish Chabad, was a Polish, as I am Eidem. He was there a Eidel, he had also a very special person. He lived in the same general complex, but he lived down closer to the ground. And I got to know him also, and I used to go in and say hello to him because he was Reb Moshe Guardia's aide. And I knew Reb Moshe Guardia also.
Tel Aviv.
Yeah, Tel Aviv. When I first came, Reb Moshe Guardia was still alive. And the first Farbringen I ever saw in Earth was Reb Moshe was by the Farbringen. And he had an opinion, they had a whole exchange, but not anything important, but it was very interesting the way they spoke to him. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. So thanks to Hashem that I saw these people. Okay, guys, so listen, have a good Shabbos, Mavokim Elu, and try at least in some way, to approximate to what we learned this evening. And Hashem should help all of us that we should go immediately into the great day with the Rebbe.
You want him to bring the car down? You go around.
No, we'll go up.
No, but if he goes around, we stay right there.
No, there's a full yes.
No, he's not going to park. He's not going to park. He's just going to pick us up.
I usually try
We wait there.
Hey,
she's
I think his car is parked on the side.
Yeah, a little 3-4
Okay,
I don't mind.
Where's your house?
I'm all of yours.
say it again.
Eykev.
Gafne.